1. Blog Talk Radio.
YAH, He is my refuge and my fortress, protects me from the wicked deadly ordinance. Snakes master psychology, phony people studying fakeology. Y'all see I'm a God, it's not ego. Psalms 82 verse 6, even JC know who be me. Lion face crew be deep, soldiers for YAH, screw these streets in front like the heat goes. That's how I leap, waiting on the master. In the meantime, studying for my masters, building houses, growing college, sharpen my sword, and I'm cutting up scholars, raising my son, searching for the wife. YAH, I pray he find a virtuous one, stand for justice, relieve the oppressed. Call on YAH, deliver the fatherless, let Israel be blessed.
Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me.
Yo, when the poor oppress the poor, it's like the sweeping rain, leaving no food, just pain. But YAH's name I exclaim, feed my brethren wisdom. YAH willing, He will do the same. Shame and calamity on my family, trapped in captivity. Many years ago, holding the calico, never know how my light glowed till I stepped through them two doors. Left church, cause that was just fool's gold. My eyes the color of onyx, YAH's message came to me as clear as you telephonically alerting me. He opened the scrolls and fed His word to me. Now I must give to those hope lost whose spirit is froze. The knowledge of how they conquer their foes. Enemies be hatred of self. Something dangerous like this crack is wealth. Let's leave Babylon and let YAH be our help.
Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is, by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty YAH. YAH is righteous. YAH is holy. And let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day, another night, bringing to you His great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of truth. My name is Mowreh IshYAH Yisrael of the House of Israel, located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, 1907 Vine Street, bringing to you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth. For Yah ordained me to tell you the truth. And this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah? Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Yah is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YIsraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king. He's our judge. He is our lawgiver. And Yah is our only Savior, and not just of Israel. Yah is the Savior of the world. And I praise the mighty Yah once again for allowing us to come before you another night to bring to you the words of truth. Tonight, we will discuss Yah's 10 temptations. It was the Creator who told our people, after he delivered them from Egypt, that you have tempted me these 10 times. And it's very important. It's very necessary for our people to know what these temptations are and why. Because little do our people know, we will go into the wilderness again after Yahweh will deliver us out of the countries wherein we are scattered. And let me show you this. In the book of Ezekiel, the 20th chapter. And we also, I might add, that this is also relevant and important since we're coming to the end. And we're going to deal with the end because our people do not consider their latter end. So undoubtedly we have to deal with it so our people will know their latter end. So they can understand what Yahweh would do in the end of times. And watch what it says in the book of Ezekiel, the 20th chapter. It's going to sound familiar because this is how our people think. Verse 32. Let's start at 31 and watch what it says. For when you offer your gifts, when you make your sons to pass through the fire, you pollute yourself with all your idols. And this is what our people were doing, even unto this day. And shall I be inquired of by you, O house of Israel? As I live, says Yahweh, I will not be inquired by you. And this is the part I want you to understand. It says in the 32nd verse, and that which comes into your mind shall not be at all, that you should say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. And even though many of our people might not be saying that today, and many of our people are saying that today, but make no mistake about it, our people desire to be as the heathens. Look at us today, if I'm not telling you the truth. And watch what it says. As I live, says Yahweh, surely with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you. And this should tell anybody who have eyes that can see, ears who can hear, whether we are in the wilderness today or not, and where the wilderness will not be. Watch the 34th verse. And I will bring you out from the people. We're coming out from the people. And will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered. And where are we scattered? In America. Where are we scattered? In Europe. Where are we scattered? We scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And Yahweh said he's going to bring us out of these countries wherein we are scattered. So the wilderness cannot be where we are, because Yahweh is going to bring us out. And watch what he says. With a mighty hand, with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you in the wilderness of the people. This after he take us out of the countries. And there will I plead with you face to face. And I want you to get a real good vision of what Yahweh saying he's going to do. He's going to take us from the people, he's going to gather us together, and he's going to take us from the countries wherein we are scattered. And this is not going to be something nice and cute. No. He said when he takes us out, it's going to be with a mighty hand, a stretched out arm, and fury poured out. And then once we get to the wilderness, it says, I will bring you into the wilderness of the people. And there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, says Yahweh. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. We must enter into a covenant with Yahweh. We must bond with Yahweh, and we must pass under this rod while we're in the wilderness. And this is what will happen. Now, mind you, we out of these countries. The wilderness of the people is not some farmland in America, as many of our brothers would teach. Some skirt area of America. No. 38th verse. And I will purge out from among you the rebels. Yes, it is true. Rebels will leave also. And them that transgress against me, they also will be in the wilderness. But Yahweh said he's going to purge them out. I will bring them forth out of the country, whether they dwell. Now listen to this 38th verse. I will bring them forth out of the country where they dwell, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. So this is not hard to understand at all. We got brothers going around teaching this is the wilderness. How is this the wilderness? And Yahweh said he's going to take us from the countries and bring us into the wilderness. You got brothers teaching we're going to be in some remote outskirt part of America in some type of farmland somewhere. No, he's taking us out of the country. What is it that you don't understand? Then they tell you what, Where's this pit stop you talking about? They going to take us. We going straight into the land. That ain't what this says. Yahweh says he's going to bring us into the wilderness, not into the land. Matter of fact, he said just the opposite. That we will not enter the land until he purged all the rebels and until he purged all that transgress his covenant or transgress against him. This is what will happen when Yahweh delivers people from these countries. Now, why is this relevant? Well, the reason why this is relevant, because our people thought they was really saved. You know, Christians go around and say, I'm saved. Saved from what? Are you saved from the government shutdown? No. Are you saved from poverty? No. Are you saved from all the foul foolishness that's going on every day? Are you saved from the police blowing your children away? No. Are you saved from racism and discrimination and exploitation? No. Are you saved from all the bad education and the degradation? No. Are your ancestors saved from the castrations and the hangings? No. You're not saved from nothing. You've just been taught you're saved. And the only time you can cash your savings in is when you die. Anybody can say they saved then, because everybody will die. So this ideology and this philosophy and this religion is totally fake. But Yahweh, his word lives forever. And here it is, our people came out of Egypt, thought they were saved too. And they never made it to the land. Their children did. But they never made it to the land of milk or honey. The land of promise. The promised land. What sense do it make to wait to get all the way to the end and then act a fool? That's why the scripture says this in the book of Ecclesiastes. If you turn there with me, Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. And what are we talking about? The 10 temptations of Yahweh. And Yahweh wasn't going to go past 10. And you're going to understand why. In the book of Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, watch this. The 8th verse. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. And the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. And here it is. We're at the end. But our people don't consider their end. In other words, what that really means is they don't consider that this is the end at all. So they're not going to change nothing. They're not going to do nothing. They're not going to prepare themselves for nothing. The end is no different than any other day. And they're going to see, they're going to wish that they had prepared. And the end is better than the beginning. So let us look at the beginning the wilderness that Yahweh was referencing when he talked about taking our people in the wilderness again. And I may add, Yahweh only talk about two wilderness. The first one and the last one. The beginning and the end. And here it is, the second wilderness, which is the end of time, which is the last captivity. The scriptures even talk about our people going in. And you don't even consider this end. And watch what it says. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Let's get right into this wilderness. And why are we talking about these 10 temptations? Because what do you think will keep you from going into the land? Not the wilderness. Your rebellion against Yahweh. Your transgression against Yahweh. And Yahweh left these on record so you can see for yourself. What type of fool our people really are. And what type of fool you will be if you don't know history. Oh, why says they that don't know their history are destined to repeat it. And if you don't know the foolishness of your history, brothers and sisters, you are indeed destined to repeat it. But when was the first time our people acted a fool? Because it didn't take long at all. And you'll read it in the book of Exodus, the 15 chapters. And I'm going to show you how Yahweh will remember and memorialize things so that you can remember and memorialize these things. Watch what it says. In the book of Exodus 15, the 22nd verse. So Moshe brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. So what is this letting us know? Here they out of Egypt. And when they got out of Egypt, they went 3 days looking for some water. 3 days out of Egypt. That's all it took. And watch what it says. And when they came to Moreh, they could not drink of the waters of Moreh, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Moreh. The waters was bitter. They found some, but these waters was no good. They were bitter. And the people murmured against Moshe, saying, what shall we drink? What do the word murmur mean? What the word murmur mean? They complained. They acted a fool. They acted a nut. Like our people do when they don't see things coming easy. But if there's any challenges whatsoever, they're going to murmur. And they did. And he cried unto Yahweh, 25th verse. And Yahweh showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. And what did the word prove mean? He tested them. All it took us 3 days. Now, mind you, if you understood how Yahweh rescued and delivered our people, by a great, this thing was so great what Yahweh had done, it had never been heard, it had never been seen whatsoever. And let me show you that in the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Just want you to see this real quick. Because the first temptation is when they murmured at the waters of Moreh. And watch this in Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Give me 1 second. I just want to get this exact verse. Yes, here we are. The 32nd verse. Deuteronomy 4:32. This is what it says. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before you, since the day that Elohim created man upon earth, and ask from the one side of heaven to the other, whether there has been any such thing as this great thing is, or has been heard like it. Did ever a people hear the voice of Elohim speaking out of the midst of fire, as you have heard and lived? Or, now watch this 34th verse. Or has Elohim tried to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation? And watch this. By temptations, 1. By signs, 2. By wonders, 3. By war, 4. By a mighty hand, 5. And by a stretched out arm, 6. And by great terrors, according to all that Yahweh your Elohim did for you in Egypt before your eyes. Unto you it was shown, that you might know that Yahweh, he is Elohim. There is none else beside him. Can you see how powerful, how great, how wonderful and miraculous this thing is and was? Now go back to Exodus 15. I just wanted you to see, oftentimes we take our lives and the things that's going on in our lives for granted. But these things are great. And here it is. He made for them a statute and an ordinance. And there he proved them. 26th verse, Exodus 15. And said, if you will diligently listen to the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, and will do that which is right in the sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you, which I brought upon the Egyptians. For I am Yahweh that heals you. And look what Yahweh will do. And they came to Elim, where were 12 wells of water. And what do you think the 12 represented? Yes, you're correct. The 12 tribes of Israel. And 70 palm trees. And what is 70? We've been talking about this. Yes, 60 and 10, 70 palm trees. And they encamped there by the waters. And that was the first temptation. Okay, that's fine. I understand. You haven't learned to trust me yet, even though I did all the wonders and brought you out with a mighty hand and by war and by great terrors, temptations. But that's okay. Now you know what I can do. Gave you these 12 wells of water, gave you these palm trees. Now you know. But no, we didn't know. And watch what it says in Exodus 16, which was temptation number 2. Starting at the very first verse. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. Now now this is the 2nd month, the 15th day of the 2nd month. Well, they left Egypt the 1st month, on the 15th day of the 1st month. So this is exactly 30 days later, a month later. And look what happens. 2nd verse. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moshe and Aaron in the wilderness. Didn't I tell you? Temptation number 2. Again, what is murmuring? Yeah, just a bunch of foolish, unfaithful, ungrateful, unnecessary complaints. The same thing our people doing today, and right now they not even in the wilderness yet, but they doing it now. In other words, you got some people there complaining and murmuring right now, preparing to murmur in the nearest future. And then you got some people who holding their tongue, trusting in Yahweh, being patient, preparing themselves for the future. Now, which one you preparing yourself for? And watch what it says. And the children of Israel said to them, would to Elohim that we had died by the hand of Yahweh in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For you have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said Yahweh to Moshe, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moshe and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, at evening, then ye shall know that Yahweh has brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then you shall see the glory of Yahweh, for that he hears your murmurings, your complaints, your ungratefulness, against Yahweh? And what are we that you murmur against us? We ain't nobody anyway. And Moshe said, this shall be when Yahweh shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For that Yahweh hears your murmuring, which you murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against Yahweh. And here it is, our people still murmuring, still complaining, still think they complaining against us. The leaders ain't nothing. The leaders ain't doing nothing. The leaders this and the leaders that. Yeah, you don't think Yahweh hear that? And let me tell you, that was temptation number 2. The wilderness of sin. That's where we were. That's what it was called, the wilderness of sin. S-I-N. Manna. That's when Yahweh rained down manna. And the wilderness of sin is between Elam and Sinai. That was temptation number 2. So you can understand what these temptations are. But then Yahweh rained bread from heaven. And in the evening, brought us quail. Now, the first temptation, what did he do? 70 palm trees and 12 wells of water. That wasn't good enough. So then he rained down bread from heaven, and then gave us quail to the full. And that wasn't enough. What's the third temptation? In the book of Exodus 17. What are we talking about? What are we discussing? The 10 temptations. Yahweh said, if you have tempted me these 10 times. And what were these 10 temptations? And why would we tempt him anyway? We see what he did in Egypt. And then if we forgot, I don't know how we would forget, because 3 days later we started complaining. And because we complained and murmured and was ungrateful, he still gave us 70 palm trees and 12 wells of water. And then we complained again. 27 days later, the 15th of the second month, in the wilderness of sin. And he gave us manna and quail. Well, what was the third temptation? In the book of Exodus, the 17th chapter, the very first verse. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of sin after their journeys, according to the commandment of Yahweh, and pitched in Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. Now you're seeing a pattern, right? Everywhere, because little do people know the word wilderness don't mean forest. We think it means forest. And there was a bunch of trees and life, and no. Because if it was that, our people would have been got away, ran away. No, the wilderness means desert. We was in a desert. And everything that was provided for us in this desert came from Yahweh. We didn't stumble on nothing but something bitter, something bad, something dead. But Yahweh brought us everything we had, because he wanted us to trust in him, as he do today. Watch what it says. Second verse. Therefore the people did strive with Moses and said, give us water that we may drink. And Moshe said to them, why strive with me? And why do you tempt Yahweh? And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured against Moshe and said, why is this that you have brought us up out of the land of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? See how ungrateful you get? You help somebody out, you deliver somebody, you feed them, you clothe them, you give them something to drink, and you just help them out. And then next thing you know, they run into a little trouble again, and instead of them having faith, instead of them being grateful, instead of them being patient, instead of them trusting, they'll start murmuring, complaining, showing their ungratefulness. Watch what they say. And Moshe cried unto Yahweh. Because see, Moses crying to Yahweh because he know this thing ain't against Yahweh. I mean him. He know this is against Yahweh. And Moshe cried unto Yahweh, saying, what shall I do unto these people? They are almost ready to stone me. And Yahweh said to Moshe, go on before the people and take with you of the elders of Israel and your rod with which you smote the river. Take it in your hand and go. Behold, I will stand before you there upon the rock in Horeb, and you shall smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moshe did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of that place Massah and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted Yahweh, saying, is Yahweh among us or not? The third temptation. The place called Massah and Meribah, where Moshe had to bring water out of a rock. See what Yahweh had to deal with? See what Moses had to deal with? And see what we will deal with in the future if we're blessed to be delivered out of this land? But see how Yahweh is preparing you today, so you will know what is unacceptable to Yahweh. Yahweh don't want to hear your complaints. Yahweh don't want to hear your murmuring. Yahweh don't want to hear how ungrateful you are. Furthermore, let's go to the fourth temptation. That was the third. In the book of Numbers, the 11th chapter. I want you to see this. Not Numbers, the 11th chapter. I apologize. The fourth temptation is in the book of Exodus 32. In the book of Exodus 32, And you all should be very familiar with this temptation. Number 4, the very first verse. And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, in other words, Moses went into the mount of Yahweh, and he was there 40 days and 40 nights. And if you heard anything that we teach, that you know that's how long it takes, and that's all it takes for the people really to show their complete, utter foolishness. 40 days and 40 nights. That's all it takes to show how wicked they really are. See, in 3 days, you might see some things. In 10 days, you might notice some things. But in 40 days, you're going to see it all. You're going to see how foolish they really are. And watch what it says. Exodus 32:1. And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said to him, Arise, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, Break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, your daughters, and bring them to me. And all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them to Aaron. And he received them from their hands, fashioned it with an engraving tool, after he had made a molten calf, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These are your Elohims, O YIsraEL, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to Yahweh. And they rose up early on the next day and offered burnt offerings, brought peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat, to drink, and rose up to play. See how foolish the people are? And Yahweh said to Moshe, Go, get you down, for your people, which you brought out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf. They have worshipped it. They have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These are your Elohims, O Israel, which have brought you out of the land of Egypt. And Yahweh said to Moshe, I've seen these people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may grow hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of you a great nation. And Moshe sought Yahweh his Elohim, and said, Yahweh, why does your wrath grow hot against your people, which are brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians speak and say, For mischief did he bring them out, to slay them in the mountains, to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against your people. Remember the Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven. And all this land that I have spoken of will I give to your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And Yahweh repented of the evil which he thought to do to his people. See how foolish, ungrateful our people can become? Yes. We're talking about the 10 temptations. And that was number 4. We got 6 more to go. You would think that's enough. But no, it wasn't. The people was not finished tempting Yahweh. This after they've been delivered from Egypt. This is after 70 palm trees and 12 wells of water. This is after manna was rained down from heaven and quail given to everybody. This is after they were at Massa and Meribah, where they found the water, and then Yahweh will give them water. But because the people didn't have a leader among them for 40 days and 40 nights, they acted a fool. But let me show you the 5th temptation. Now you can go to the book of Numbers, the 11th chapter, and let's see what happened there. Of course, the 4th one was at Mount Sinai, where they made the golden calf. The 5th temptation. Book of Numbers, the 11th chapter. And watch what it says. First verse. And when the people complained, here it again, I told you, murmur, complain, unsatisfied, ungrateful. And when the people complained, it displeased Yahweh. And Yahweh heard it. And his anger was kindled. And the fire of Yahweh burnt among them and consumed them that were in the outermost parts of the camp. And the people cried to Moshe. And when Moshe prayed unto Yahweh, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of that place Taberah, because of the fire of Yahweh burnt among them. And what's so ironic about this place Taberah is that it don't even say what they complained about. All it just said, the people complained. And it displeased Yahweh. I don't know what they complained about. And the scriptures don't even tell you what they complained about. But they complained. And Yahweh don't like complaints. Yahweh don't like murmuring. And we still do it today. Even though, since we've been reading about these temptations, all we've been reading about is murmuring and complaints. And that's what we have in Israel today. And let's get right into the 6th. Thing that Yahweh, the 6th temptation. And watch what happens. The 4th verse. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? My goodness, who you think been giving you flesh to eat? My goodness. We remember the fish, which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now, our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna, ungrateful, before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, the color thereof as the color bdellium. And the people went about, gathered it, ground it in mills, or beat it into mortar, and baked it in pans, made cakes of it. And the taste of it was a taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Then Moses heard the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled greatly. Moshe also was displeased, like people can't hear these people complaining. And Moshe said unto Yahweh, why have you afflicted your servant? Why have I not found favor in your sight, that you lay the burden of all these people upon me? Have I conceived all these people? Have I begotten them? That you should say to me, carry them in your bosom as a nursing father bears a suckling child to the land which you swore to your fathers? Wherefrom should I get flesh to give to all these people? For they weep unto me, saying, give us flesh that we may eat. I'm not able to bear all these people alone, because it is too heavy for me. Watch what Moses say. And if you deal thus with me, have me deal with these people, kill me. Just take me away, Yahweh. Just take me out of my misery, Yahweh. Kill me, I pray you, out of hand. If I have found favor in your sight, let me not see my wretchedness. In other words, Yahweh, don't let me die like this. Just kill me right now. Even though bullets is not even made right now, Yahweh, make a bullet so I can put it in my brain, so I won't even see my wretchedness. Here there's a man that can't even speak, slow of the tongue, but now he's able to use big words because the children of Israel done worn this man out so bad, now he knows the word wretchedness. 16th verse. And Yahweh said to Moshe, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel. Now, notice this is the 6th temptation. Gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them to the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with you. And I will come down and talk with you there. And I will take of the spirit which is upon you, and will put it upon them. Our foolish people think Yahweh took the spirit of the elders and put it on Moses. No, he put the spirit of Moses on the elders. Our people think that the elders supposed to rule Moses. And this is nothing but foolishness. I will come down and talk with you there, and I will take of the spirit which is upon you, and will put it upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you bear it not yourself alone. And say you to the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and you shall eat flesh. For you have wept in the ears of Yahweh, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore Yahweh will give you flesh, and you shall eat. You shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils, and it is loathsome unto you, because that you have despised Yahweh which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt? And Moshe said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 footmen. And you have said, I will give them flesh, that they may eat a whole month. Shall the flocks and the herds be slain for them to suffice them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to suffice them? And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Is Yahweh's hand grown short? You shall see now whether my word shall come to pass unto you or not. And Moshe went out, told the people of the words of Yahweh, gathered the 7 men of the elders of the people, set them round about the tabernacle. And Yahweh came down in the cloud, spoke to him, took of the Spirit was upon him, gave it to the 70 elders, and it came to pass that when the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied and did not cease. And we're going to get right to the point, because this is the 6th temptation. And watch the 33rd verse, or 30th verse. And Moshe gathered himself into the camp, he and the elders of Israel. And there went forth a wind from Yahweh, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. And the people stood up all that day and all that night. Because what come after day? Night. And all the next day, because what come after night? The next day, the morning. And they gathered the quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 omers. And they spread them all abroad from themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, before it was chewed, the wrath of Yahweh was kindled against the people. Yahweh smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people that lusted. And the people journeyed from Kibroth Hattaavah to Hazeroth, and they stayed at Hazeroth. In other words, the 6th temptation. Kibroth Hattaavah. That is the place where the people lusted for more. What's the 7th? Numbers, the 12th chapter. Because we're right here. And you should know what this is. Starting at the very first verse. Numbers, the 12th chapter. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. In other words, people getting in other people's business, and this ain't even their business at all. But they got to speak against this man whom he married like he don't know what he doing. Like he don't know the law. And like Yahweh don't even deal with him. For he married an Ethiopian woman, as our people to do, want to know who you marrying, just want to get a know, who is this? Who is that woman? And they said, has Yahweh indeed spoken only by Moshe? Has he not also spoken also by us? And Yahweh heard it, because Yahweh don't like that mess. He don't like it at all. Now the man Moses was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And Yahweh spoke suddenly to Moshe and to Aaron and to Miriam, come out you 3 to the tabernacle of the congregation. And they 3 came out. And Yahweh came down in the pillar of the cloud, stood in the door of the tabernacle, called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, here now my words, there is a prophet among you. I, Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak to him in a dream. My servant Moshe is not so, who is faithful in all my house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of Yahweh shall he behold. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe? Because our people ain't afraid of nothing that's good. Moses was good and ain't afraid of that. But they should have been. And look what Yahweh would do. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said to Moshe, alas, my master, alas, my Lord, I beseech you, lay not the sin upon us wherein we have done foolishly, because all our people being all the way up until this time 7 ways of fools, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he comes out of his mother's womb. And Moshe cried unto Yahweh, saying, heal her now, O Elohim, I beseech thee. And Yahweh said to Moshe, if her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that, let her be received in again. And afterwards, 16 verse, and afterward the people departed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. That's where they were. The wilderness of Hazeroth. The 7th temptation. And just 3 more. What about number 8? Number 8 is in the book of Numbers, the 13th chapter. And I won't read this whole thing, but watch what it says. The very first verse. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, send you men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give to the children of Israel. Of the tribe, of every tribe of their fathers shall you send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moshe, by the commandment of Yahweh, sent them from the wilderness of Paran, all those men which were heads of the children of Israel. And Yahweh would name these men. '17th verse, because I'm trying to get to the point. And Moshe sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said to them, get you up this way southward, go into the mountain, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwell therein, whether they are strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it is good or bad, and what cities they have that they dwell in, whether it's tents or strongholds. And what the land is, whether it's fat or lean, whether there's wood therein or not. And be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehob, as men come to Hamath. And they ascended by the south and came to Hebron, where Ahiman and Shishai and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And they came to the brook of Eshcol and cut down from there a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bore it between two upon a staff. And they brought other pomegranates and other figs. The place was called the brook of Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from there. In other words, here it is. We go to the store and get us a cluster of grapes, and our little baby, little 3 or 4 year old can carry that. But the cluster of grapes in the days of old took 2 people to carry. Now you see the defiled food that we're eating. And they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. And did not tell you that's how long it take to really get the complete picture how foolish we are. And watch what it says. And they went and came to Moshe and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel, to the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word to them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, we came to the land where you sent us, and surely, make no mistake about it, it is a certain, it is of a truth. This is a fact, man. It flows with milk and honey. And this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people are strong that dwell in the land. The cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of the Jordan. In other words, the people began to sin. They brought back an evil report. Which is number what? Number 9. And watch what it says. And Caleb stilled the people before Moshe and said, let us go at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the men that went up with him said, we are not able to go up against these people, for they are stronger than we. Now, they just talking to Moses right now. They just gave this report to Moses. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched to the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it, it is the land that eats up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers. So we were in their sight. In other words, it's one thing to just give a bad report, which they did. And they gave this bad report unto Moses. Terrible report. A little weak report. After seeing everything that Yahweh would do, this is your report. This what you bring back to me, that you can't conquer the people? I can see if you just saying, look, there go the Amorites, there go the Canaanites, there go the Amalekites. But you gonna talk about we can't go up against these people, and y'all done seen what Yahweh said? But then, watch what these same weak leaders do in Numbers, the 14th chapter, which is number 10. This took the case right here. They gave an evil report. And as a result of giving that evil report, watch what happens. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried. And the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured. My goodness, here we go again. Against Moshe and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said to them, would Elohim that we had died in the land of Egypt? Or would Elohim we had died in this wilderness? In other words, man, why didn't you just kill us in Egypt? Why didn't you just kill us in the wilderness? And why has Yahweh brought us into this land to fall by the sword? That our wives and our children should be a prey. Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, let us make a captain and let us return into Egypt. Now do you understand the 10 temptations? Then Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Yehoshua the son of Nun, Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, tore their clothes. And they spoke to all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceedingly good land. And if Yahweh delights in us, in other words, if Yahweh loves us, then he will bring us into this land and give it us, a land which floweth with milk and honey. Only rebel not you against Yahweh, neither fear you the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense has departed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Fear them not. And watch what happens. But all the congregation said, stone them with stones. In other words, they will rather fight their own brothers. They will rather fight their own leaders. They will rather kill their own leaders than to take the land. And watch what happened. And the glory of Yahweh appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. And Yahweh said to Moshe, how long will this people provoke me? How long will it be before they believe me? For all the signs which I have shown among them. Man, how many more signs I got to show them? I will smite them with pestilence, disinherit them, and will make of you a greater nation, mightier than they. And Moshe said unto Yahweh, then the Egyptians shall hear it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them. and they will tell it to the inhabitants of the land. For they have heard that Yahweh are among this people, that you, Yahweh, are seen face to face, and that your cloud stands over them, and that you go before them by daytime in a pillar of a cloud, and a pillar of fire by night. Now if you shall kill all these people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of you will speak, saying, because Yahweh was not able to bring this people into the land which he swore to them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness. And now, I beseech you, let the power of my Yahweh be great, according as you have spoken, saying, Yahweh is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech you, the iniquity of this people, according to the greatness of your mercy, and as you have forgiven this people from Egypt even unto now. And Yahweh said, without hesitation, I have pardoned according to your word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh, because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not listened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swore to their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he have another spirit with him, and has followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. And the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow I'll turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, how long shall I bear this evil congregation, which murmur against me? I've heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say to them, as truly as I live, says Yahweh, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in the wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me, doubtless you shall not come into the land, concerning which I swore to make you dwell therein, save Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. But your little ones, which you said shall be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years. Bear your whoredoms until your carcasses are wasted in the wilderness. After the number of days in which you search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall you bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and you shall know my breach of promise. Now do you understand why you should consider your latter end? Now do you understand why the end is better than the beginning? And these people were so foolish. I'm going to just read the last part as we close. Watch what it says. 35th verse. I, Yahweh, have said, I will surely, there go that word surely again. In other words, for a certainty, for a fact, for a truth. Do it to all this evil congregation that are gathered together against me. In the wilderness they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. And the men which Moses sent to search the land who returned, and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up a slander upon the land, even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land died by the plague before Yahweh. But Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were the men that went to search the land, lived still. In other words, Yahweh killed them right away. He didn't waste no time with them. And Moshe told these things to all the children of Israel. And the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning, got them up into the top of the mountain, saying, Behold, we are here, and will go up to the place which Yahweh has promised, for we have sinned. And Moshe said, Why now do you transgress the commandment of Yahweh? But it shall not prosper. Go not up, for Yahweh is not among you, that you be not smitten before your enemies. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you are turned away from Yahweh. Therefore Yahweh will not be with you. But they presume to go up to the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and Moshe departed not out of the camp. Then the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites was dwelling at hill, smote them, and discomfited them, even to Hormah. In other words, they got their tail tore up. And even after all this, they still didn't listen. Now do you see? Now do you understand? The 10 temptations of Yahweh? Prepare yourselves for the end. Prepare yourselves for the wilderness. Prepare yourself before Yahweh. So until tomorrow, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.
To you, my Yah, do I lift up my soul. And trusting you, he always kept me whole. And left my enemies deep in their holes. Let none that wait on Yahweh be ashamed. But shame on those who sin without a cause. Show me your ways, please teach me your laws. Oh Elohim of my salvation, I'm staying down and patient. As a child, all the while I'm waiting. Remember not the sins of my youth. Lead me in your truth, and he'll give your soul ease. The earth shall remain inherited by a seed. The secret of Yahweh who fears Elohim, of who believes everything. And to every word spoken, you can't take.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.